more full if everybody were in the room. Be mindful that there's 3 on the phone.
That's all right. There are 3 of us on the phone. Welcome to the March 10th Haverhill.biz meeting. We do stream our meetings online for those who wish to attend either away from the present space or at a later time. We also have some callers on the phone, so thank you for joining in. Our format here, Erin has stepped out, so I'm not going to ask her about the bridge mural. Let's see. So,
Non-profit or Haverhill.biz?
just a moment, we got. One more latecomer. 2 competing meetings, and they've taken.
I'm not being
Well,
antisocial.
there's contention for the space. Let's put it that way.
I developed the poll that we had.
Oh no.
So I'm going to sit over.
Yes, we have right.
All right. So Pam has joined us as well. So to get started, we have an important update on the sign at Railroad Square. It's installed. It's beautiful. It happened.
A year later.
A year. Hey, you know what? Progress is still progress.
Did you want to do an introduction first?
Yeah, we can go around the room. I'll start. Seth Portis, Uncommon Catalyst. Off to you, Vanessa.
Vanessa Henry, Large Boston North.
Kristen Carboni, Carboni's Kitchen.
Stephanie Guy, UMass Lowell Innovation Hub. Erin Padilla, Creative Payroll.
Pam Price, Economic Development, City of Haverhill.
Very good. And on the phone? Please.
Matt from Facebook Design Studio here. Ben Consoli from BC Media Productions.
Nate Robertson, Economic Development, Merrimack Valley.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. So with introductions out of the way, again back to the sign. It's in. It's awesome, which is very cool. I don't know if there's more to be said about that. If there's any more progress on some of the other things that we wanted to do, or if there's any traction there. But
No, that's kind of on pause for now, unfortunately, just
okay.
pure capacity purposes. Like,
I understand that all too well.
Yeah, I think too, it's kind of nice to have one part of the project done, kind of see what the feel is, what the reaction is, and then let that kind of ruminate for a bit while we think about what could happen next. So.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That looks great. It's great.
It looks fantastic. All right, on to the next. Matt, do you want to give a quick update if there's been any progress on parking, our meeting with the mayor and whatnot?
Well, we haven't had any substantial moves forward on our part. Sort of a quick background, we had met several times with the mayor and city planner and other officials of the city and came up with a strategy to resurrect a report by a parking consultant that gave 18 recommendations for how to alleviate and improve parking in the downtown. And they were, the city council chose not to act on those 18 recommendations because the political atmosphere, the climate was just very sensitive at that time. And so we wanted to resurrect the least controversial of those and try to get some movement forward to improve the situation. So that was our strategy. In the meantime, the mayor has put together a strategy of his own. He feels that the political climate is such that he can take all 18 and get them voted on and approved. And so I think from our point of view, we sort of said, we support this, we're not, and we're going to stand down for a moment and be prepared to go with efforts and then see, what's the good reason, going off. So we don't have a timeline for when he's going to bring them to city council, but it's something that we're monitoring with him. Whenever I see him, we bring up parking and discuss it. So, I think the prospect of movement is with us. Now that we've really seen any change yet.
Excellent. Thank you for the update.
Sure.
On to our guest speaker, Kristen.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
So, what do you want to tell us?
Well, I've been thinking a lot since Vanessa had invited me here.
hurdles and things that maybe I've encountered as a female entrepreneur that my male counterparts wouldn't have. That was all. I ran into a few, I guess you could say, snags, or I just didn't expect it to face it at all, because in my industry it's very black and white. Either you can do the job or you can't. It's performance based. But then kind of coming out of the kitchen into the rest of the world, you know, it is a little bit odd when you're, you know, because I look young and I'm a woman, so I would run into a lot when we were doing the renovations over in the space. People would come in and ask to speak to a manager and owner, and I would, you know, politely say, well, that's me. And then the look that you get is like, what? So that was a little bit odd, and, you know, people don't, it's not that people don't take you seriously. You know, once you are in a conversation with somebody and they can see that, you know, I had been working on this for quite a long time, and that my ducks are in a row, and I do take it very seriously. I think that that's when people kind of start to relax a little bit and start to say, like, okay, well, she kind of has an idea of what she's doing. But it's more the day-to-day. It's the people that come in, it's the people that call, not customers, but, you know, a lot of the business-to-businesses, you still run into the, well, is somebody else here? Which is a little bit odd. But in the industry itself, you see a lot of, you know, when you're a female chef and you're running usually a male-dominated kitchen, there's a little bit of sexism in that, but once you show that you can do the job, that kind of goes away as the respect builds, that you have the skills to carry the position. I read a little bit of female entrepreneur and statistics that I am a little bit on the younger side. Most female entrepreneurs in the last 5 years have been over the age of 40, which I think is great, because I don't know, when I was young and I heard 40, I was like, oh my God, 40? Ugh. But now being right there, you realize that there's still, you know, 60 years of life after that you're not, it's not, you know, the timeline that it was before when you were young. So it's, you know, it's still very fresh. We've only been in business a little bit over a month, so I'm sure there's still a lot of hurdles for sure, and just kind of getting in there and managing everything and managing staff and finding staff, and then going out into the world to market and balance everything has been a little bit of a challenge, but I don't think that has anything to do with my gender. I don't think.
It's difficult. Business entrepreneurship is difficult, as many of us can attest to that. Tell us a bit about the business, for those who aren't aware.
Sure. We opened Carboni's Kitchen over where it was formerly the Bradford Place Cafe. The space is beautiful. The curb appeal is beautiful. Everything about it, you know, that opportunity was just there. I've been in the business for about 20 years. Stepped out of the kitchen almost 3 years ago to go into food sales. So I have front of the house experience, back of the house experience, and now food sales experience. So I kind of have all angles. So I was getting bored of sales. I would find myself going into, you know, my customers' restaurants, and it's like, hey, can I help with that? Or hey, can I help with that? You know, I really miss the hands-on. I really miss being in the kitchen. And then we had this opportunity come up, and you know, my fiance has been on board and has helped with everything from the painting, and you know, he's a plumber, so has been, you know, extremely valuable in that respect. But he's just a saint. He's helped with everything right along the way. And the key thing is that actually the women that own the Sweet Affair downtown, they were my customers and turned into, you know, great friends, and would always kind of joke like, oh, we should go into business. And then kind of the same couple weeks that they didn't say no, that space became available. So we're like, oh my God, we have to jump on this. And I had been in touch with Pam for whatever expertise and advice that she could offer along the way. So what we decided to do, we have 3,300 square feet over there, which is way too much for me, and you know, probably way too much for them to begin with. So we split the space. When you go in, there's a little seating area. We have a couch and a couple tables and chairs, and then you come in and the room is split. To the left-hand side is a Sweet Affair. They offer smoothies, acai bowls, sandwiches, full breakfast on the weekends. They're gonna have their 36 flavor system of soft serve coming up soon. Very excited, I'm personally very excited about that. And then on the other side of the dining room is Carboni's Kitchen, and that's been inception for me, I don't know, like 25 years ago. This is my life's work coming through. So we offer lunch Tuesday through Saturday from 10:30 to 3. Pulled pork mac and cheese. We make our own sausages. We grind our meat for meatballs. So it's upscale casual. There's not waitress service, but you can go in and have, food of the same quality that you would have downtown, or you would have, at any of the higher ticketed, I guess, or like the more of a sit-down venue. But we offer the same caliber where it's fast casual. But the big thing is the grab-and-go meals. Everyone is so busy nowadays. Everyone has a career. It's not like someone is home and they're cooking breakfast, they're cooking lunch, they're cooking dinner. You see people, they're doing meal prep. They're doing meal prep delivery. They're doing grocery delivery. No one has time. So what we offer is meals to go. So you can come in and you can grab dinner for your family or dinner for yourself and just go home, heat it up right in the container that it came in, and you're good to go. You know that it's home cooked. You know that there's quality ingredients. It's chef created. We're kicking off our first cooking class this Friday, Sausage Making 101. And then in 2 weeks we'll have our pasta class, and then from there we'll roll out classes monthly as well. We'd like to do different private events, and there's a lot on the horizon for us.
Wow, that's impressive. I had no idea.
Oh, thank you. Thank
I didn't
you.
realize the space was so large.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
the front, from outside, it looks, I've been inside, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
But from the outside, you would think it's small, but it goes back.
Yeah, well, it goes back, so you have the initial dining room that you walk in and you see, and then to the back left, there was 2 businesses ago, the gentleman that owned Lakeview Kitchen, they had the brilliant idea of, it was a chocolate room. It was painted chocolate brown. All they sold was chocolate in that room. It was just the best thing ever. But when you have that as, if you're just eating breakfast or you're having a meeting, it was oppressive. You felt like you were in a closet. So we painted it bright green. We had actually had a female artisan design and make tables to my specifications. That way you can have a 5-top, you can move them out, you can have 2 6-tops, or if you'd like to have a private event, we can put them together. They're square on the end, so that way that they can make one long table down the middle of the room. But then the kitchen is just as big as the dining room. It's huge. So that will be a great space to have classes, because we can bring 10 people into the kitchen, no problem.
That's great. That's cool.
And how do people find out more about the classes and the offering?
Carboni's Kitchen, Haverhill.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and on Instagram as well. I update Facebook every day. I usually do one in the morning, and then another one like as we get cooking in the afternoon. We're like, oh, this is great. Let's take a picture. Let's put it online. So it's updated in real time.
Very cool. And you can see what you can grab for dinner on your way home.
Yeah.
On the Facebook, you get a little.
Oh, so the
Thing,
it's
so
a
it
rotating
shows-
menu
it'll show
in
you.
that regard?
Yeah,
Oh,
so we
very
have
cool.
a small stationary menu that has our signature sandwiches, which would be the meatball parm sub, which has just taken off. Everyone loves it. We go through anywhere between 8 and 10 pounds of meatballs a day. And then we have our own sausage sub. This week the sausage is pesto fresh mozzarella. We have a garlic bread grilled cheese with pesto and provolone, and the Italian pulled pork on Texas toast, and sometimes focaccia. Playing with the bread, I'm not sure what's going to make the menu permanently. So we have those staples, our blackberry caprese salad. The one thing that's not Italian that I've added to the menu, because when I first started, I'm like, nope, if it's not Italian, it's not going on the menu, I'm not doing it. But the buffalo tortellini with the blue cheese chicken meatballs I can't keep it in the house. So
That
I'm
sounds good.
it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. It's a great winter meal. I don't know if it's going to stay in the rotation for the summer. I think it would be a little much when it's July and it's 85 degrees out. But who knows? Who knows?
My wife likes buffalo and blue cheese all year round, so that's,
My fiance is the same way. Anywhere we go, it's chicken parm or it's buffalo fingers, and that is the measure of the restaurant.
yes. Yes, exactly.
And she does catering.
Kristen,
Last
if I
week,
could jump in.
Please.
Sure.
Hey, ringing endorsement of your sausage, first of all. I've had it a couple times, so for those of you who haven't been, you should totally go.
Oh, thanks, Nate.
Yeah. Curious to know if there's been any conversation with Northern Essex Community College. Just the fact that you're doing classes, you're a well-respected chef, that there's like an educational component to this is really interesting, especially when you have Northern Essex Community College just across the river that's kind of starting their own programming and has just hired some staff to oversee what that looks like, as well as what those community partnerships are and while they're fitting out that space.
I've actually been hired by Northern Essex as well to teach in their culinary program that's been pushed now to the fall. That happened, I don't know, a couple months ago, and now it's been pushed back again. And I have so much on my plate, like in this moment. I didn't think to bring that up, but I have a sausage making class, a pasta class, cupcakes and cocktails, gluten-free cooking and cooking for celiacs, and a start your own catering business as well.
So this is all part of like the Northern Essex course curriculum?
Yep.
Wow.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Cool, that's great.
And will you be teaching at their facility or
Yeah,
your
at
facility?
their
as well?
facility. They
Okay.
brought me on as an instructor, and I'm sure that will affect my schedule over there, but that will be weeknights. And my classes are a little bit, I mean, I take it very seriously, but I know when it's a night out for people,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Like they don't, like they care, but it's, they want, you know, you want to kind of get hands-on, you want to cook, you want to drink, you want to eat, like that's what people want to do. And the Northern Essex, I think, will be a little bit more serious.
Right, occupational versus recreational kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that's still, it's a non-credit course
Mhm.
over at NECO. I wasn't brought on as a, as an accredited instructor. I don't know if I meet the qualifications for that or not, but I would imagine that would take a lot more time with curriculum and stuff like that, and that, my shop takes all the time.
Yes, I can understand.
And I was gonna say, Kristen catered our women's event last week, as all the women in the room were there, all of you, so you can attest.
Bacon on a
There was
stick.
bacon, chocolate, pistachio and chocolate covered bacon on a stick in a bouquet form. If you haven't seen it, it is on the iHub page, it's on all the photo pages.
I'm getting one tomorrow.
So, it was the star of social media last week, so that was just a hit. And all of the food for the breakfast was great. She had a vegan option that people went bananas over. That was so good. And just a lot of what you talked about. We talked about the women's event last week, right? Women-owned business, women leaders. You walk in the room and somebody thinks you're the secretary, or you're not the business owner, not the politician, not the leader. And that was something we wanted to highlight. We did that event last week. We made sure we had a woman-owned caterer providing the food, a woman photographer shooting it. I mean, we really were thoughtful about how we put that event together, because just like you said, like we've all gone through those experiences where people don't treat you like the business owner and the leader that you are in whatever field you're in. And I'm glad that we're having these conversations and we're recognizing it, and women are kind of speaking out more about it. And I think it's just something we all need to keep in mind and support our women, our minority-owned businesses, our women-owned businesses, and just continue to push forward, right? As supporting each other. And that was sort of a big message of our event last week that I know you guys, I think, agree with me on from
I
all
thought it
of
was a
being there.
really great event.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.
Well attended, great speakers, great food.
No, yeah.
There's a fun opportunity coming up for the food industry that, because you're so creative in what you do, you might enjoy participating in. So there's the Art Week Festival, which is a statewide festival that happens May 1st through 10th. And essentially how it works is you submit either an event or a special program to Art Week, and then they approve it, and then they promote it throughout the whole state. And then people kind of go to what they want to go to wherever they are. And so it's kind of a cool opportunity for your small business or organization or whatever to get some exposure. And one of the special programs they have is Art of Food. And essentially you can submit a creative food idea that has to do with art in some way. Either it's inspired by a mural or an artist, or it just has a funny artist name like Van Gogh's ears, something, you know, like whatever. I'm not gonna come
Van
up
Gogh's
with
ears
some-
of corn.
Yeah, there you go, Van Gogh's ears of corn.
Well, I think immediately of the bread mosaics I've been
Yeah.
seeing all over the internet and
Yeah.
stuff. They're beautiful, actually. I don't make bread. It's really hard. It's really time consuming. But you can actually purchase really good, like ready to go, like not just the market basket, but from bread companies.
Yeah,
And I really wanted to look into getting into that because I have an art background as well.
nice.
To do like the vegetable mosaics on the focaccia after you you do the holes in the top and then you do all like the pictures with
Yeah.
cut up vegetables and stuff.
So
That immediately comes to mind.
yeah, if you want to do something like that, you can submit through April 5th is their deadline. It's really quick and easy submission process, and so you could say, like, I can send you a link, but just say, you know, I'm gonna submit this food thing, it's gonna be available for one day in May, like during May 1st through 10th, or every day, May 1st through 10th, or whatever, and then they'll expose, like, your business to the
Yeah,
whole
I'd love to learn more
Commonwealth,
about
so.
it. That sounds
Yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
I'll send that to you.
Thank
'cause,
you.
Yeah, it's such a creative food.
And will Sweet Affair keep their downtown location?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They have a lot of regulars. There's a lot of foot traffic. I know all the employees in the area love love being able to go and get something healthy for lunch. You can only have so many tacos,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, I never get anything healthy from there, but.
Do go there at all.
I tried, it's hard. And on the Hulk smoothie lately, which is great. It's dark green, there's spinach, like spirulina, but it tastes like fruit juice. It's so delicious, it's so good. But then there's there's the peanut butter cup.
Right.
It's a balance.
Very good. Any other questions on the phone? Anybody else?
Not for me.
All right. Well, 20 years.
Thanks for sharing. We appreciate you being here.
Yes, thank you very much. And
Thank
it's,
you
it's,
for having
it's
me.
awesome to hear that your dream from that long ago has come to fruition. And
It's really unbelievable. I wake up every day, I'm like, I own a restaurant. Oh my God. And some days it's like, oh, I own a restaurant. And some days it's like, oh, I own a restaurant.
very good, very good. Well, thank you for taking the time to share your journey with us, and
Of
we do
course.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And all I can say is if you haven't tried the Italian pulled pork and the mac and cheese, you gotta try it. It's totally addictive.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, on to the
So we have
next.
More meeting? I don't know if you.
Yeah,
can
you're
stay-
welcome to stay
you're
for
welcome to stay
more.
For the more meeting, or you can.
I'd like to stay and see what you guys,
Sure.
what else you do. Yeah.
Sure. So our marquee event, Creative Industry Night, this is the fourth installment of that program in an effort to draw in part of our targeted business initiative. We're to bring in targeted, to recruit businesses that participate in the creative economy, because we feel that there is a high degree of overlap between what Haverhill has to offer and what the creative economy is looking for. So we're looking at, in this particular one, we're featuring the literary industry. So those who have a role to play either in the authors themselves or the publishers, the graphic artists, those who are involved in book publishing and the like, an opportunity to come together to meet one another, many of whom I'm sure they already know, but we as a community don't necessarily know them. We did the same thing for, this is our fourth event, we did the same thing for music in the industry, in the area, and we also did this for video production. It was the third one. So we settled in on June. The specific date is yet to be confirmed as we look at our venues. We have several venues in mind, and what we're thinking about doing is kind of a literary pub crawl, if you will, where we feature artists and coming into authors and the like, and street performers coming to do their craft or present their work at various venues as we tour around downtown Haverhill. More to come on that. I don't know, Matt, do you want to add anything to the description there, or anybody in the room? for those who may not be aware?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that last piece.
That's all right. I wanted to make sure I covered it and give others an opportunity to chime in. Hearing nothing further, stay tuned.
Yeah.
And then just a quick look, it's been about 4 months now since we did our last development update. Here's a map of all the active development projects, at least back in September, that were in place down Washington Street and the like, all the way up to the Phase 2. Do we know what the Phase 2, what's going on with Phase 2 of Harvard Place? Have you heard anything from the
As far as I know, that's on hold and there's nothing happening.
Okay. Do we know why?
No.
Why? What happened, Pam? Or okay. Well, that's an honest reality.
Yeah. It's not, they don't have anything.
All right. So I didn't get a chance to take and put all the pictures into the presentation, but I do want to share some of the noteworthy things that I think have come up. So obviously, the Lupoli building it's glassed in, which is fantastic. 2 months ago, or 4 months ago, it was open air steel and part of the deck was in place. So great progress in that regard. The parking lot, it seems like, Pam, maybe is this just going to be a flat lot, or are they going to put some structure there as well?
I don't know.
Okay.
I thought it was a
Actually-
garage.
I heard it was
Right,
supposed
isn't
to be a garage and that it's not a garage.
Yeah.
Is what I've heard, and I assumed it was just gonna be flat, but that was month-long. That might not be correct anymore.
Yeah, Matt, and from your contacts, do you know if they're actually planning to put a garage there, or is it just going to be a straight flat lot?
Well, so, what I understand is there's gonna be, I think 1 or 2 levels of parking. But it's mostly gonna look like surface parking to the, passersby. And, the Lupoli companies are working with the landscape architect and Alexandra Gola, the local artist who did a mural at the Garibaldi Club, to sort of craft a public space. And I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know they're working hard on it, and it should be a positive amenity for pedestrians and folks using the river walk. So forth. So that's what I hear, and I haven't seen design drawings or schedules or anything. So I like all of us, I'm waiting to see.
Yeah, it looks like they've done the earthwork for the lower lot behind the post office, behind Be Imagine Studio and the like. And that may in fact be the 2-tier that they're referring to, because it doesn't look like they put in any structure to go above ground level. Just from observation of what the construction site looks like at the moment. But we do see the beginnings of the boardwalk appearing, which are nice. Do we know if that boardwalk is going to continue all the way down past the post office at this point, or is it still kind of hung up there behind the transit station?
From what I've
I
heard
think
from Andrew,
Oh, Pam has an
Go ahead.
update.
Yeah, go ahead.
from what I've heard from Andrew Hurley is that it's complicated
Mhm.
because of the fact that it's the federal post office,
Yeah,
and then also there's some other property there that you can't, the city can't actually go over, so we'd have to actually cantilever out
okay.
over the river, so it's a complicated process. The intent though is that eventually, that the whole thing would just be all connected,
Yeah.
so. But I don't think it's gonna happen this summer, so I wouldn't say it's coming to the river this summer in 2020.
We're getting closer though.
We're getting closer.
We're getting
though.
closer.
I mean,
Do you know, speaking of the rail trail, the other side on, near the railroad trestle,
Yep.
as the river walk, or the pathway, I forget what they call it, it looks like it's to be continued across, is that to go across the trestle, or what was the plan there once the construction is all set? Are you familiar?
well, I got shot down.
Okay.
I had applied for a creative, I had applied for one of the creative grants that the state has,
Mhm.
and they were going to have like urban planners working with specific municipalities, because I would like to see us be able to connect one side to the other side without pedestrians having to go down underneath that trestle.
Yep.
Where that abutment is, because it's, that intersection over there, I mean, and anything that you've been reading on social media about the Ornstein site, you know, traffic is a big concern, because that intersection, you've got, you know, so many roads coming together, people trying to get across the Como Bridge. And so I had applied for a grant to have, you know, some of these students have that be their capstone project of how do you connect from one side to the other side without having people to have to go down into that.
Yeah.
I got shot down, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna apply again. But the proposals that we have for the Ornstein site, what they're looking at doing is they're looking at creating a boardwalk that would go behind, a river walk, I should say, not a boardwalk necessarily. A river walk that would go from like the Como Bridge next to the river, so that there's public access all along that whole walkway. And then connecting those two things together, I think is like, again, that's an engineering thing that's gonna require cooperation between private and government and actually also the T.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the Ornstein site. What are you referring to there?
So up past Skateland, you know where
Okay.
Skateland is?
Yep.
Okay, so up past Skateland, there is about, it's nearly 5 acres of property
Okay.
that was a factory.
Yep.
And the city's owned it for a long time. And had several RFPs out for this property over
Okay.
the years. Most recently, there were 3 proposals that had come in, and the one proposal that's gotten the most favorable votes has market rate housing,
Mhm.
3 buildings of it, so it's not just one big, long, massive building.
Right.
And Matt's actually also on the, he was on the committee that was reviewing it, so he can add some color commentary as well. But some of the ones that we looked at didn't provide enough public space.
Okay.
And so they didn't, you know, they were like, they didn't check off all the criteria. Some of them were just like one big, long building that looked like a mill building, which is kind of not the look we want over there. You know, we want it to look more like a neighborhood. And so the one that the committee chose is actually 3 separate buildings, and there's like a, as you're looking at it from standing on the street, you can actually look down and see the river. So it's not gonna look like it's just this big massive piece of, you know, mill building that we plunked down there. So it was a very attractive proposal. It's all over social media too.
Okay.
But they're gonna have 2 park areas there, so there's gonna be one bigger park area. This is the proposal.
Yeah.
I just wanna couch it with, this is a proposal. So there'd be one big park area that'd be close to like where the Como Bridge is,
Mhm.
so that when you come across the bridge, you would have this nice park area, kayak launch there, and parking for people that live in the buildings and also visitors to the park.
That's to the right of Skateland where the service station used to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and then a river walk connecting to another more private park down at the other end of the property. So something on the east side, that would be the bigger park, and then something all the way on the west side, that would be more like, just like a quiet place to go and read a book or something like that.
Okay. Cool.
And then, you know, the other thing that came up was that, and this even came up when they were talking to the council, is about doing a traffic study for that whole intersection, to make sure that people are aware of what's gonna happen with traffic over there.
Yeah.
But they're gonna go also at grade level, so that people that are commuting into Boston, or anybody who uses the T,
Mhm.
would be able to just come right out and go across to the.
Right, to the
Bradford
transit station, to Bradford Square.
Yeah.
Bradford Station. Excellent. Excellent.
Matt, did I leave anything out? Could you hear me?
And Matt, did you catch that regarding the Ornstein project?
He's speechless.
I've been falling in and out here. I didn't pick up the last of that.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Pam did an excellent
yeah.
job. She just wanted to know if you wanted to chime in any additional details, but
Yeah,
having not heard what she said, I'll let you off the hook. Moving on to the next bit of progress. So the building, the building in a box is no longer in a bag. And it looks like the elevator core is now functional. So that's again, a nice bit of progress in the last 4 months. I don't know, Matt, is there anything that you'd like to say in regards to that project, being that you were on the commission that reviewed it?
The building in a box?
The building in a bag at Post
The,
Office Square.
Yes, that's right. Well, so I did the open house tour that they had when they, sort of did the ribbon cutting. And so it's beautiful. It's all workforce housing, and it's, I think, fully occupied the day they opened the doors. And so, welcome to the community. It's the order of 40 units added to our community.
So this was on, the one you're referring to, is that Essex Street, or is that in the Post Office Square area?
Yes. Oh, sorry. No, it's Essex Street.
It is Essex Street. All right, I'll get to that one in a minute.
Right. The building in a bag, I see. Yeah, it was Haverhill Housing Authority.
The Haverhill Housing Authority, exactly.
Right. So, I have no official update from them on that, but I see that it appears to be 100% complete and open and functioning. There's an existing, population that continued living there during the construction, so they all remain in place.
Right.
And yeah, the facade repairs for the building next to it appear to be completed. And so, this is all nice work, sort of adding to our
Is there,
potentially nice Washington Square.
is there any more that's gonna happen with the brick part in front there and making that more?
Yeah, do they know if they're gonna
Nicer.
redo
I can
redo
chime
the
in
courtyard? Oh,
with
Aaron.
that. Well, not the courtyard.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah, the
be part
courtyard
of-
needs some work.
But I did
Yeah.
get a tour of their space with the elevator recently.
Yeah,
And we might collaboratively be applying for a grant that would add murals into the interior of that new space, because it's just a blank slate right now. But could also potentially add mural to that white flame spot there, or.
you mean the lit portion of the tower?
Yeah,
Oh, wow,
yeah,
okay.
something like that. So it's not an official, we're not at the official, yes, we're committing to this stage yet, but we've talked about it, and
Right.
the Housing Authority and Creative Haverhill are willing to collaborate on submitting something to this specific grant that came out. So
Excellent.
there's something that might be in the works.
I'm glad to hear it, because it would dress the tower up.
Yeah, and
Oh.
it's the perfect clean slate just for a mural to easily go there, so. and
Exactly.
It's lit already.
It's already
so we
lit,
don't have to
exactly.
talk about lighting it, which is
Mhm.
nice. So we'll see, but.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next one. So, let's see. Matt, do you have any, or actually Pam, maybe you can talk to this one. The 27 Washington Street, the old Magnavox building. Do we know what's, this is a demolition permit. Do we know what's going in there? Or Matt, can you speak to what's going in?
Yeah, they're actually on the agenda for the Historic District Commission meeting on Friday. And so we reviewed that they're coming back to the HDC after our first pass that we had some comments and modifications we asked them to do. And it looked like it's 4 units of apartments, something along those lines, and retail on the ground floor.
Excellent.
Did you say 4?
Oh,
This building.
Yeah, it's a.
The other one's
surprisingly small
I
number.
saw, I walked past it.
Yeah.
yesterday. I was like,
It's surprisingly small numbers.
Four units, so front to back flats, it seems then, since it's a,
Something like that, yeah.
okay,
Better than.
very good. And just ground floor retail with no tenant in sight.
No, I mean, I don't think that the developer understands that we are in a post-retail reality,
Yes,
But on their bank's time, they'll come to that realization sooner or later, so,
yeah, fair enough.
hopefully there'll be some creative placemaking available to help keep the lights on and make that a contributing part of the streetscape.
Yep. So speaking of retail, the space next to it, the old Comcast temporary location / I don't know what it was. It's changed hands a few times in the last year. It now has mannequins in the windows and things hanging on the walls. Do we know anything about there's no signage for the nature of the business. It doesn't appear to be open yet, but obviously they've started decorating. So it's good to see.
Yeah, I had no idea.
There's too many empty spaces between Merrimack and Washington.
There are. So it's pleasant to see that some are occupied by new businesses, and there's definitely some turnover, and that's true of any economy. But any,
Shorts,
Little-
dresses,
little-
yeah.
Women of the night.
so I have a picture of the display up, and it's brought chuckles from
How many
certain
stores are
segment.
there to sell women?
I know. I don't know how many stores we need, like.
So anyway, moving on.
It's more just 'cause we just don't know what it is.
We don't know what it
We don't
is.
know what it is, there's no
Yes,
signage,
there's-
so yeah, I think.
They took the paper down a little early.
Just slight confusion.
Yes, we'd love to know what the brand, what the business is.
Yes.
And we're happy to see it, and we want to see more ground floor retail, and
Yes.
this is a perfect example of the space being put to productive use, and we hope it's successful.
Lit windows.
Lit windows with things in the window,
Yeah,
exactly,
lit
not
windows
just,
for-
blinds and
Yeah.
businesses behind obscurity.
Exactly.
We would like to have a lively looking downtown, and this is a good example of it. Speaking of which, the Alforno building, it looks like construction is complete, which is fantastic. Another example of what was once boarded up windows or broken glass, and now just a fantastic street front, and
The apartments are beautiful. I went
Yeah.
when they did their ribbon cutting. They were really,
excellent,
gorgeous.
excellent.
Now they just need a first floor. They got a first floor tenant yet?
Yes, please, Nate.
This is a good segue to, I guess, some legislative updates for folks. There has been word trickled down that this is not official, but one of the tools that made that project possible was what's called the HDIP program, which is Housing Development Incentive Program. It's a way to incentivize market rate housing creation in gateway cities, and it's used for those 20 unit kind of brick, multi-story. It's to produce that product. So the word is, it's been a very successful program. It's very popular, and there's a long waiting list. So the unofficial word is that the program cap has been tripled.
Excellent.
Which means there's a lot more tax credits that can be used by housing developers to produce that sort of, or to do retrofits and that sort of product, which is really exciting. And I would also encourage, on a second point, I would also encourage folks to check out Diane DiZoglio, Senator DiZoglio's community, I don't know what she'd call it, community development small business legislation. Included in it is the creation of a Massachusetts Office of Main Street. We're the only state that does not have an Office of Main Street in our state kind of bureaucracy. This would create a department to support and to help people who have Main Street entities in their downtown. If you remember, we had a speaker come in from Beverly Main Street, to talk about how that organization is run and what they've been able to do in Beverly. And I just wanted to put that on our radar because this group is well positioned to take advantage of that in some sense, or at least kind of advocate for that continued Main Street focus. So that's all I got.
Very good, thank you. I appreciate the update. I wasn't aware.
Yeah, great news.
We had talked about in this group about.
What happened with Gary Cooper's shoe store?
He brought someone in who talked about this.
Yeah, do we know what happened to Fly Kicks?
Oh, why, what happened?
Oh, he went out of
Yeah.
business.
He did already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really sad.
Yeah.
Super sad.
Yeah.
There's so
Oh.
many sneaker hats, it's crazy.
It
They're
was
really,
Yeah.
a beautiful shop
It
and,
they
was.
looked really nice.
oh, he didn't get much of a chance to get going. I feel like he wasn't open very long.
No. It was pretty,
So
it was a
hard.
hard go, but he's out of it. He's working a 9 to 5. So.
Oh, sad to hear that.
Not too bad.
And Quinn's is gone too,
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's another,
Quinns?
Quinn's Canine
You know,
Cafe.
it-
now.
Oh, yeah, that's
it-
right,
it's
yeah.
a different
That's
location,
completely
or did it
empty
just
again.
stop entirely?
Fly Kicks is
Yeah.
gone completely gone.
How about Quinn's? Did they were a second location, right?
Yeah, they just decided the market wasn't here and, you know, was no problem for the business. It's still functioning in Newburyport, but,
Yeah.
just didn't work as well in Haverhill,
Okay.
so they decided to move out.
And the switchboard, is that still in good state?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
seems like they're,
They've got their first artist residents coming in, Lindsay Jordan, handmade, market, and she's gonna be there for 2 months. And she's gonna bring in some other artisans, 'cause she plans, kind of high-end markets, at Willow Springs throughout the year. And so she works with lots of really great crafters, and makers. So she's gonna be bringing some of them in while she's also utilizing the space. So the nice thing about this new format for the switchboard is that the doors will probably be open more, when you're just walking by, because she'll be there, and if she's there, it's open so you can walk in, see what she's making, learn more about, her business, and, then she's also going to be exposing other crafters through, being there. So, and I think they have, Nate, you might know more, but I think they have an artist through June at least, a couple different artists scheduled. They might even have more.
And they got the grant through the creative, what was it called?
The TDI
The TD from Mass
Creative
Development. that
Catalyst
We
grant.
did not get, that we applied for free, but
Well,
they got it for their artist residency program, which
And-
is great.
Nate and I went with Haley to the reception for, the recipients of that grant, and, it was really exciting to see what they did fund, and, a lot of similarities to switchboard type, organizations, a lot of differences too, but, they're doing great work, Mass Development, with that program, and the switchboard's really phenomenal program to get that money, so, and it's helped offset the cost for the artists to rent the space, which means that switchboard's covering their costs and
Right,
making it
right.
more
Be
realistic
viable
for
for
them.
them, which is
Yeah.
great.
and as much as possible, it'd be awesome to see like the lights on in
Yeah.
the space, like at
Yeah.
night, just so that we know that it's still occupied and in use, and you can see change as the artists do their craft in that space. I think that'd be an awesome kind of, heartbeat kind of thing.
I agree, I think literally just the fact that the door will be open more is
Yeah.
gonna have a huge impact on them, on
Yes,
the success of their,
excellent.
business.
All right, couple more here. So, come on. The space above Moonshiners, I know that they brought a pile of drywall in, and it looks like that kind of very quietly got completely renovated, which was really cool, because I know that was gutted floor to ceiling above, if I recall pictures correctly. So, not nearly as much fanfare as the Al Forno building, but another one done stem to stern, it appears.
Nice.
And then we've also got STEM, speaking of stem to stern, no pun intended, it looks like all the construction's there.
Yeah.
Matt, do you have any update on when Caroline looks to open, or what the update is there?
Yeah, so, she's completed with construction and has a certificate of occupancy and can use the space, to sell every thing for, cannabis. She is currently having litigation with her neighbors that needs to be cleared up before she can finish the regulatory piece, with the Cannabis Control Commission. So, they're kind of working their way through whatever that legal process is with her neighbors, and then she'll finish once she'll be open. And I honestly, I don't have a sense of what that timeline really looks like. I think it's hard for her to predict because it's just the nature of the litigation.
Right. Well, we hope for a speedy and peaceful recovery, or resolution rather.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's been so long. Please, just come join the community and do the things that you said you're going to do, and make it work. But let's get her open,
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Next one, we talked about that, which is good. Already talked about that one. Just another good look at the Ellis factory. Lively, complete, and nothing like what it looked like before, which is, again, an awesome thing. Similarly, the building on Essex Street that Matt was referring to earlier, 40 units at 98 Essex Street, also signs of occupancy and life where there were no windows, and it was just a concrete hulk only a year ago. Awesome to see. And then, let's see, a few more here. We have a new building on Essex, or new business on Essex Street, a photography studio, took up ground floor next to the barber shop that's on the corner there, directly across from 98.
Okay.
They've got like four frontage windows, all with their logo on them. Chirp, I know nothing about them. But was happy to see that went in on ground floor,
Yeah.
and a very pleasing brand and street view.
Yeah.
Is it in conjunction with the other photography?
I don't think
That's
so.
like right,
Not just down the street. I
Yeah.
don't think so. No,
Right?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
by
from
Wicked
there.
Big?
yeah, right by Wicked
Yeah.
Big, that other one.
no, not to my knowledge. It doesn't
Oh.
seem like they share any branding or anything of that nature.
They
Yeah,
might have
there's
to
3 of them in fact, I believe, on there. It's Photography Row, which is fantastic. And let's go on. So another major development, they're anti-development, whatever. The building across from, near the Cordovan, across the street from Downtown Wine and Spirits, the nightclub that was once kind of, a blight on the neighborhood.
They bulldozed it.
And has been demolished, it's gone.
Did we talk about this building a while ago?
We did.
Like a long time? Okay.
Yes, we
I
were
wanted
wondering,
to
we
come
noticed
down.
that
It was pretty cool.
it was bought out and,
I
by the
went-
Cordovan, from what I understand, and subsequently demolished, and, we don't know what they plan for this space, but it's
Looks great, much better.
Much better,
Yeah,
exactly.
eyesore is gone.
yeah, enough of the rolled steel windows kind of thing, we need to get rid of that,
Yeah.
it sends the wrong vibe for the neighborhood. So, that's a very cool development, and then there's,
I just have a general question.
yes, please.
When I'm walking around Wingate Street, walking around, Washington Street, I'm like, why is that art student, paint, like that,
The
Basic
art
art
paint
room,
class thing?
yes.
Like, why is that on Wingate Street? That's an evening, nighttime activity thing. You see people through the windows. It looks fun. Why isn't that on the main street? Like in the gaming thing that's upstairs on, I don't know the building, but there's like a group of, like a video game type of a.
Yeah, gamepad.
Oh, the gamepad by the top.
Why isn't that downstairs? Like on Washington Street at the ground level so people can see activity at night? Why is that shoe store, the Crispy Clean Kicks, so far away? Like, why are these things that are kind of interesting and have some nighttime traffic, why are they not all centralized to try to make one interesting area and have that kind of be the heart of the city and build out? Now, I'm not saying this just rhetorically, how does that happen? Like, are there committees? Is there government incentives? Is there groups that figure out ways to move, tenants that are on the main street that don't need to be there and replace it with tenants that should be there to help build the character of the downtown? because we see a lot of this just happening, like there's cool things happening, but none of it is centralized. So there's no reason to go to any of them because all of them are sort of dispersed all throughout the city.
Yeah.
How do you get these places to come together, group, and say, okay, we're all gonna move these to one central location, because it just makes sense. Like, you drive through Essex, and at nighttime, it's absolutely beautiful. The restaurants are booming, there's a little gaming area down in the corner there, you see people playing cards, you see all sorts of activity going on. That couldn't have just been by accident. And I'm wondering, how does that happen? Does anyone know?
Question.
That's a really good question, but.
Yeah, I mean,
Go
how do
ahead,
you
Matt,
get
do
that,
you
like-
have any idea?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Oh, okay. But, I think that's a really good question. I think part of that is done through master planning, but, on a really granular level of enterprise by enterprise, space by space, I think it's a Pam Price and Nate Robertson, type of situation where, you can't really legislate against it, you can't really, affect the market, people, open businesses and building owners rent space, based on need and availability, and so there's sort of an alchemy about, how to match make the right space with the right business, and having a puppeteer that can do this matchmaking on a somewhat informal basis is, it's difficult, but it's really important, and I think it's an excellent point. Who else knows how to do this? Anybody? I mean, I wonder myself.
Like the point of the Main Streets program, right? Because I remember,
My namesake has been, I've been called. If I can jump in really quickly.
Go ahead, Nate.
This is the strength of programs like the TDI partnership. They provided a platform for community leaders to partner with the city, to partner with downtown stakeholders and property owners. So when those opportunities happen, like the gamepad is looking for space in Haverhill, there can be some matchmaking, and there is constant communication between all the different stakeholders in the downtown. Good Main Street organizations do this. They are that matchmaking hub, and there's definitely there's a science to it. To your point, Matt, it's not something you can legislate against, but it's definitely something that you can incentivize. And I can at least speak to Haverhill's case. One of the programs that worked really effectively in Haverhill during Noah's tenure was the Lease It Local program. A lot of the reason that these businesses are in the locations that they choose is because of cost. It costs a ton of money to open a business. So when you're talking about between build out and between a couple bucks additional per square foot, and depending on different areas, that will dictate oftentimes where these businesses go. I know in GamePad's situation, they chose where they are because of the cost of opening up somewhere else. It was cheaper for them to be above the tap and to utilize the tap's infrastructure. Could that cost have been offset by something like the Lease It Local program? Maybe. Unfortunately, that program was put into place after they had signed a lease. It was just like the tragedy of timing. But what the Lease It Local program did was that it said, we're going to give businesses who move into vacant storefront properties that have this transformative impact, or at least the potential of it. And we're going to offset the cost by giving them essentially $6,000. And what that does is that suddenly it reduces the cost of opening the doors, whether it's first, last, and security, that sort of thing. But as little as $6,000, I mean, it's functionally a subsidy to the landlord to incentivize people to come into targeted spaces. It's it's low money. It's not, $6,000 isn't a lot of money in the government world. But it had a transformative effect. The switchboard utilized it, and has been able to stay in that space since. A number of different places utilized it. So I think the combination of having a platform like a Main Streets organization or a TDI fellow or something along that sort, and then also having the programming, having kind of both sides of this coin, does have the potential to, then you can begin to dictate, okay, these are the properties that we need to fill, these are the businesses that we want to see in them, and you can start to do that sort of thing.
So I have a question.
Actually, Pam,
Oh, never mind.
sorry,
So, one of the things that I wanted to add is that, it isn't always that we know about these things,
yeah,
because oftentimes business entrepreneurs are working with their banks and they're working with realtors. So depending on the realtors that they're working with, if there's a particular property that a realtor has, they're gonna guide their people to those properties.
Right.
And the other thing, just to echo one thing that Nate said, is that it also has to do with rent and how much renovation is required. Because rents on Washington Street are a lot higher than they are on Wingate Street. From some of the properties that are out there right now. So, looking at how much is it gonna cost to open up my business? How much do I have to spend on fixtures and renovating a space? That a lot of that comes into play. One of the things that I've been really pushing heavily is for all of the business contacts that I have, making sure that they know about this business forum that's coming up on March 25th. Because there's a ton of stuff out there that not everybody even knows about.
Right.
Even we don't know about all these things. Because there's so many different agencies, like you could spend an entire day, as an entrepreneur, they don't have that kind of time to spend an entire day looking and scouring for grants and programs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I've been promoting that heavily to try to get people here to register and just come in, it's a few hours.
right. You may learn something you already knew, but you might
Right.
not.
Yeah.
You might
Yeah,
learn
I
something
think
brand new.
like what we're seeing, like when we had Noah here, we had a dedicated person whose job it was to look at that district and get them, so he knew the owners, the realtor, so losing that, we now have to figure out, how do we, as a group, how does the city, how do we bring all that together? Because you're right, you have all these people doing it, Kristen's even an example of that,
Right.
she saw this great space and just went after it.
Right.
And it's perfect for your business, and there's other people that are probably doing that, and how do we find them and make sure that they're getting into the right space, or that they have the resources, or that they know about these mass development programs, businesses at the Landmark Building were able to get mass development money to pay for the build out, that stuff's out there, it's just really hard for people to figure out how to access it.
And figuring out where to spend your money and on what is hard enough. And some of the challenges I face, not just being a female, it wouldn't matter, what gender I was. In my humble opinion, I think that Haverhill needs to have some kind of more of a cohesive checklist as to this is what you look for, this is what comes next, what your, a real-time list of things that you need, what things will really cost. There are a ton of surprise fees. And I did my homework. I called Pam probably in April or in March or something of last year. Started going to Salem State for their small business development. I would drive to Salem, Mass, and meet with Nancy Girardi there. And there was still just surprise after surprise after surprise, which I found to be frustrating. So I don't know if that's something that this group covers. I just couldn't not say it. Sorry. I'm sorry.
And
No,
some of that
it's
is
good.
stuff
Thank
that
you.
we try to do here at the iHub too. We have programs for entrepreneurs and events and bring people in, and how do we make sure that people like know about the stuff that's right here in
Yeah.
Haverhill, and how do you know that the city's resource, and that the city has that website that has a lot of good resources on it.
And so does the MVPC.
Yeah.
But again, it's sort of like, we have all these things, but people just don't have the time
Right.
to go look for them all.
Yeah.
And how I actually even met Kristen was through Eva.
Yeah,
Because she had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
I had no idea who she was. You know, it was one of these like third party things. It's like, oh, go talk to her. And
yeah,
so,
thank God for Eva. She's been wonderful with referrals and getting me to the right people. I think calling you was one of the most important phone calls that I made, for sure.
I just was like,
The brain.
yay, someone's gonna do phone.
Pam, so for the record, what's your phone number? How can people reach Pam?
978-420-3698.
Thank you.
I'm on LinkedIn too, so.
Excellent, excellent.
But, you know, one of the things that I'm surprised about is that, because I come to all the events that I can down here, even though if I have to sit on the edge of the table because I'm sick. But I've tried to come to some of the co-working days. I try to come down to, you know, when the chamber does their leads lunch.
I can't hear what, whoever's talking, it's not coming through on the.
It's Pam, and I have a cold, so I put myself in the corner. I was like, almost like on timeout, so that I wouldn't infect anybody. But what I was saying is that, you know, there are all these like different meetings that, you know, like I try to come down to co-working, but, you know, not everybody thinks about calling City Hall first.
No.
You know, usually what they're doing is they're talking to their friends.
Right.
You know, and so had it not been for Eva introducing me to Kristen, like, she wouldn't know that I was there. And I would guarantee you, because of, you know, what we were just talking about last Friday, that people don't even know that there's Haverhill.biz.com.
Right.
You know, so there's a, I think that's one of the things that we're missing is that, like that one place, it's like the aha. And I don't necessarily have the solution right now for the aha, but, you know, to me, the power of social media is one of the things that, you know, we all have followers, but we have followers that are like all over the place. But, you know, LinkedIn, I've posted things on LinkedIn, but mostly that's all still connections from my first career. Like, I'm just gaining connections now, but mostly those are engineers and architects and people that are developers.
Right.
Because my main focus since I started working for the city was the big industrial parks.
Yep.
You know, spend my time out in the industrial parks and then work on the master plan. And now we're getting to the next phase, which is zoning. But, you know, we don't have a retail association in Haverhill. We don't have like a little retail association, like Main Street people.
Right.
You know, which I think was one of the things that Nate talked about before.
Yeah. Erin.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think Ben brings up a great question, and it's kind of time sensitive too. I mean, we've got with Quinn's Canine Cafe space. I mean, it's in between the switchboard and Battlegrounds. It's this great spot, and I'm excited, but also super nervous about what might go in there because there's the potential for, you know, something like the basic art room or something that is active and open and people are utilizing that could be there, and how amazing would that be? But there's also the potential for an insurance company, you know, to go there. And how is there any way for us to have a voice in that, or to say, here, these are the types of businesses that would enhance the downtown, that should maybe get incentives because they would enhance downtown, and like have a list of that gets handed to whoever makes the decision, you know, like, because that's such an amazing spot, and it could.
I mean, the good part about that is that's David Jagorith, and we know that he's shown that he really cares about what kinds of businesses go into his spaces. So, like, you have at least faith in him that he's going to pick a good tenant. But there's other owners that you don't have that kind of faith in, and they are just going to want to fill with whatever. And I don't know what the best. How do you? I mean, when we look back, like our initial creative industry night, the first one we did, looked at getting owners and businesses. That was the mission. It was owners and entrepreneurs together to look at spaces. We had some owners here. We had a little bit of that. I don't know how much of it turned into what, like that big vision, but how do we do more of that?
Right, how do we get more owners to the
Get
table?
more owners to think
Conversation.
about, this is, you know, these are people that wanna patron businesses downtown and wanna have a say in what goes downtown. How can we work with them? I don't know the answers to that.
I'm not sure if I'm talking over anyone, because I'm not, whoever's speaking isn't coming through on the speaker, but let's just say, like, if somebody was thinking about, okay, the Canine Cafe is gone, that's an integral part of the street, we think the paint place should be there, and we think the gaming place should be there. What can someone even do to even try to make that happen? Is there any sort of like, is there like a checklist or the first person to call or a workflow or something where we can say, just to bring up the idea to these places? Because I think I don't know who said it, but when you're starting a business, you're spending a lot of money, you're not really thinking about moving, especially after you just moved in. All you're thinking about is promoting the place that you're in. So I understand that those people may not be the ones, the owners may not even be the ones that have the initiative to do this. But I think if somebody like our group was advocating for this, what would be the next
Do we write a
step to even
letter to
start those
Dave
conversations?
Trevorth and say, as you're looking for this space, will you come talk to us about it, and can we work with you somehow? I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
because I
there's-
think it's more realistic probably to get a new space that, with intention,
Right.
than to get someone who's bound to a lease, who wouldn't probably like the cost of moving, who wouldn't like the cost of raised rent, you know, all those things to move to that space. Like, I'd love for those businesses to move there, but I think the likelihood of that happening is lower than saying, hey, let's maybe curate what goes in there through this group of knowledgeable, like, business-minded people or something, you know?
Right, and that's part of the intent with the targeted business recruitment. The whole creative industry night was designed to provide fodder and conversation for people to take a look at Haverhill for these types of industries. And to work both on the supply side with bringing the landowners to the table, getting them to, you know, refit the businesses, get rid of the plywood windows and things of that nature, all the way down to the demand side and looking at what businesses can we attract. And how do we do that best? It's not by a billboard on 495. It's not by a glossy, this is Haverhill. It's by word of mouth. It's by the connections that we have within our own network. And trying to, again, provide tangible evidence that people can use in conversation to say, Haverhill's a cool place, you should look at that for your business opportunity.
I don't know why, but I'm having a hard time hearing anybody. Matt, are you hearing everything clearly?
Matt might have left.
Okay,
I'm sorry, Ben.
I guess no. That's okay. It just sounds like everybody's underwater and I can't hear anything. So you may be even answering my question. Somebody had said something about, I wish this idea is better for new businesses versus
Yeah.
moving older businesses.
Yes.
The only thing that I would say is, if we're gonna only be focusing on new business, then we have two major hurdles. We have one, to find a new business, and then also the idea of moving somebody in and the cost associated with it. I kind of feel like, as hard as it may be, existing businesses that already have a client base or customer base might be the better way to do it. That way, they feel like they're getting an upgrade. They already have a group of people that frequent their business. It just feels like that. I understand there's going to be landlord issues. I get it. But also, making the downtown more interesting and more vibrant is going to only raise the cost of these locations eventually, especially the people that have residential upstairs and commercial downstairs. They may be able to take a hit on the commercial in order to make the residential more valuable. I don't know if this is true. I'm just completely talking out of nothing. But I think it might have to take somebody in a group like ours that may not have all the information but have the ambition to move some of these mountains a little bit.
Well, maybe.
Just because it's hard, you know, I don't really care that it's hard. I think starting a business is hard no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not go to one of the real estate, one of the, lawyer's offices, or you know, an insurance place and be like, listen, there's no foot traffic here anyway during the day. Let's move you somewhere else. Maybe we give you some sort of a marketing package to help you promote your business in your new location. Maybe there's a way we'll move you closer to a parking lot so that your customers that you do have don't have to complain about parking on the street. Because your place is just not that cool downtown.
Yeah, seriously though.
There could be a way to do that. Like, figure out what is it that these people actually need, aside from the location, see if we can offer it to them somewhere else downtown. I know if somebody offered, I don't have walk-in business. If somebody offered me to move, I'd be like, whatever, fine. I don't care, because I don't rely on walk-in business. It doesn't matter. So if the price is right and the location is, you know, easy enough for me to get to, it doesn't matter to me, and that's just my own experience. But I think lawyers' offices, insurance companies, there are plenty of things downtown that don't need to be downtown, and maybe with just a little bit of incentive that we may not even know about what's going to be valuable for them, could have them be like, yeah, that's fine. I don't know. Am I making any sense at all?
No, you
Yes.
definitely are. Every time I walk past the Washington Square Park, that's all I think about is these businesses that are here need to be here, yes, and they need to be accessible, yes, but they don't need to be storefront. And if there was a coffee shop, ice cream shop, bookshop, whatever, this space would be utilized completely differently, right? So I think you're bringing up a great point, especially for this group to take on. And I think we could maybe start to answer some of those questions with a simple conversation between, like, kind of using the canine space as an opportunity and your idea with basic art room and the game room, and just talk to the owner of the space and the owner of those two businesses and propose, hey, this is an idea. What could this be a reality? And if so, what would need to happen for that to be a reality? What could we do? And get some questions answered, just kind of by using that as a pilot idea.
Yeah, I think it makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, Nate, do you think, I don't know if Nate is still there, but do you think there's a way to maybe develop, okay, good. Do you think there's a way to maybe develop like a business relocation program where we're like, okay, these are the 10 steps to make this happen. These are the people we need to call. Would you be interested in bringing your location, you know, downstairs? I don't know. Is that even, is that a thing that can happen? I don't know. I just know how to produce videos. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, you are remarkably on the nose about this. This is the kind of neighborhood, block by block, parcel by parcel level of downtown economic development work that not only needs, yeah, it's possible to answer your question, and it does need to get done. The tricky part is always capacity and resources, but that shouldn't be a hurdling block for this group. Downtowns have, you know, do this different levels of success throughout the Commonwealth and throughout the country. This is absolutely possible. And Aaron, you're totally right. I mean, the way to start this is by just starting it. Have a conversation with her voice company. Have a conversation with the business that you know, whether it's the game pad or somebody else, and begin talking to people and say, what resources would you need to make this happen? And then come up with some programming if it's possible. I think the important part is that we as a group serve as kind of the switchboard, and I don't mean that as the organization, I mean that as a concept, where we are talking to each other about different things that are happening, that we're in conversation with property owners, that we are in constant conversation with potential tenants or existing tenants to see what makes sense. From there, we can weed out the low-hanging fruit and align our resources and vision in a way that makes this stuff doable. But no, I mean, you guys are both, you're totally on the nose with this. Your instincts are right on.
Excellent. Well, it is 10:24 at the moment, and I'd love to continue the conversation, but I want to be respectful of people's time. And we did have to back up the Creative Industry Night planning meeting to this. So I'm gonna put a pin in our conversation here, and I'd like the direction. I want to maybe we can fold this into targeted business recruitment and talk about this more on our next meeting.
Or-
And I
I
mean,
mean,
Matt
I
has a
don't know
good
who's-
connection to Tregorth, like we was, when we were
Yeah.
doing the grant, we needed his approval because we were doing something with the switchboard and we emailed him and he got back to us in 2 seconds. So if Matt, I don't know, we could just ask him if he's not on the call anymore, but I think maybe having Matt make an outreach to Tregorth and say, would you wanna come and could we have a conversation about this stuff with you?
That could even be
Just-
beginning with next month. I don't know who's
Right.
hosting next month, but whoever it's,
We haven't figured it out yet.
okay, like that could be, let's talk about that, because there's obviously a lot here, and maybe we try to get Tregorth and, at least make a connection to those other businesses,
Yeah,
and start the conversation, and then continue it in our next meeting, just so we don't lose momentum on it.
okay,
I do have to head out, I have another.
okay, thank you, Vanessa.
Thanks so much.
All right, very good. With that, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.